My wonderful, beautiful, amazing Capricorns. I'm Gabriella from Gabriella's Vampire Tarot, and for this evening, I'm going to be doing your general reading, your past, present, future, and card spread. I'm going to be using the regular tarot deck, clarify with the vampire deck, draw a special vampire card, draw a vampire oracle, and finish off with 3 yes or no answers for thee. But anyway, I want to introduce you all to the Macabre Tarot. It's designed by this person named Sam Rook, and it's kind of been, created and, designed in the form of a coffin. It's pretty cool, isn't it? So I pretty much already have like a, separate video where I mostly gave off some sample, general reading, stuff like that, if you're ever interested in. But anyway, this, tarot deck is going to be all about how I'm going to help you guys overcome your fears and stuff like that. So please feel free to stay tuned for next week's Macabre Tarot, and even if you want to get a chance to look at my previous October 31st Dawn's Macabre, that's quite a beautiful event that took place. But anyway, so let's get started with your reading. Okay, the general card is the Empress reversed. Okay. Let's look at the first row. So, you start off with 5 of Wands, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius placements. Reversed, of course. 5 of Cups. And then the Fool reversed, Aquarius energy. Okay. You know what I'm getting here? Is, you more or less, you kind of came to terms with something, but, it's like, it was something that just didn't work out in your favor, because normally, with the 5 of Wands upright, there's still, potential chance of actually, this competition that you're more or less just heading off towards, but since it came in reverse, it's kind of like forgiving your competitors. It's like kind of coming to terms with something that just didn't work out, because with the 5 of Cups afterwards, it's like you did face some form of disappointment. Especially, since you got the Empress in reverse, meaning, there's no new beginnings, no fertility, no abundance and whatsoever. So it just looked like that. Yeah, this could have been some form of setback. I would never ever, decide on how little or too big it is, but it just looked like that. Yeah, you probably struggled with some form of disappointment that it didn't really work out in your favor, and then you pretty much just thought, you know what, I'm not going to be taking any more risks or leaps of faith, afterwards. So yeah, sometimes these situations happen, it's like you try something and it didn't work out, okay? It's always good just to see how far you can get, with it, but if you really think, you know what, I'm so adamant about it, I'm just going to give up, then 100% your prerogative on so many ways and stuff like that. So, but anyway, we'll continue with current times. So, you start off with 10 of Cups reversed. Star reversed as well, more Aquarius energy. But here you get Magician, Gemini, Virgo energy. Okay. So what I actually see you doing is you're actually, finally taking, control of your fate and fortune. So because, this could still be resonating in current times where you either, will feel, like, no happy home, happy earth, happy family, or abundance, and your star wish fulfillment did not work out either. Maybe that could have contributed, well, to the fact that you actually, just didn't want to take any more risks anymore. So then what happened is then you kind of forewent the abundance and star wish fulfillment, which could have still taken place in current times. However, I do find it very interesting that you would still want to start manifesting something. But we'll get to that with the clarification and verify it all, of course. But the thing is sometimes, it's like, you are cardinal sign, you're practically, like one of the leaders. I'm cardinal myself, I'm Aries, and then we still have a Cancer, and I believe we still have, what was it? Oh, yeah, and Libra as well. But the point is, it's like, sometimes, when you realize that, if you stop too soon, it's like if you've ever come across like this kind of sort of cartoon, that are divided between 3, different types of people, and you see, this one person that still has this little much to go to carve through till, that person ever gets to this treasure trove of what, or just, of whatever it may be. The point is, it's like if you pretty much just think, what, it just seems pointless, I'm just going to give up. I just, tried and it didn't work out. But then, what could have resonated, and I don't want to be seen as any person, because I would never order anybody around. This is only just by pure experiences and suggestion from other humans as well. Is that, if you give up too quickly, then you won't be able to see what could have been. But here I do find it very good that you're going to try to manifest or maybe try to revive something, but we'll get to that. Because in the future, you get the Hermit. Ooh, okay, a Virgo card, because the General card is another Virgo card based off of the Empress reversed. So you get Hermit. Okay, you get Pisces with the Hanged Man reversed, and then you get Six of Wands. So maybe you're not giving up. Maybe you're going to be trying something, again. Maybe you're going to try to, revive it, give it a bit of a rebirthing, what have you. But this could also be you, thinking, you know what? And we're going to try to manifest something different. Yes, we feel a bit uncertain about it because of the past Five of Cups that just didn't work out in our favor and stuff, and even the Ten of Cups in other ways. But here, you will definitely be celebrating something. So, whatever it is and however it's going to be, I do see a beautiful outcome. Despite, maybe a couple, this seemed like a bit of a roller coaster ride, kind of, going around into spinny things, whatever they're called, but either way, I just love the fact that you're pretty much, there's some kind of, something brewing. Let's put it that way. Because for the Five of Wands reversed, you got Three of Pentacles. So the thing is, you forgave your, competitors, but yeah, maybe you were still trying to, maybe you and some, group, activity were trying to still, manifest something, because here it is with the Three of Pentacles, which is still kind of a collaborations kind of card. So maybe, it's like, well, you didn't quite get what you wanted, but you were still working incredibly hard with, your fellow peers, your colleagues, your whoever it is around you and stuff like that. But this could also be you have thinking, you know what, I'm just going to start, like maybe, manifesting in my own way, because this is an interesting machine. Because I remember how my, mother used to, use the spinning wheel, to design our clothes, and especially how the spider, has spider silk to be creating silk fabrics, which is actually one of my favorite fabrics, to be honest. For the Five of Cups, you get Hanged Man upright. And this is interesting because, it's like here you are pretty much just processing what happened, before this incident took place. And it's always good just to even, when you fail an exam, when you didn't quite get what you wanted and stuff like that, you're facing disappointment, is to sometimes go back to what happened and how you can learn from it. Because it's all based off of your experiences and cautionary tales, right? Because when you think about like all the kind of experiences from the good, from, oh yeah, I studied very hard for this test and I passed, to the bad from, yeah, I studied very hard but it just didn't work out. What happened and how can you actually improve for next time? So here you're pretty much just kind of thinking, okay, but it's not all lost, because the Five of Cups, you still have Two of Cups behind you. So maybe, you barely made it. Maybe, it's like you could actually have a bit of a redo, what have you, in other ways. But the Hanged Man is here, mostly kind of helping you go into introspection mode. Just like how you're going to keep doing that with the Hermit in the future as well. Because with the full reverse, you're not taking any risks and stuff like that, but yet there's definitely some form of movement either way. So maybe there's going to be opportunities heading off towards you, because maybe you're the one that just thinks, you know what? But it could also be thinking, well, I'm not going to be heading off towards that, and that Five of Cups incident, or even that, well, Five of Wands right now, because I'm going to actually be collaborating maybe with other people with the Three of Pentacles, and here you are, well, maybe heading off towards a different direction as well. Because maybe you just don't want to retake that test, and maybe you want to actually try something, way better, that's pretty much, on a different parallel scale. So I think as long as you pretty much take charge of your own fate and fortune, for that matter, then, something, will pretty much result in this beautiful celebratory occasion taking place. So for Ten of Cups reversed, you get Four of Grails. So the thing is maybe you don't have confidence within you, maybe you don't really have the abundance that you hope to achieve and stuff like that, but you are definitely being offered something, and maybe that is what is actually kind of putting you in a position where you actually think, well, I feel reluctant because it's not what I really want to have. And maybe that's why, you could be doing some introspection in the future and stuff like that. But it just looks like, with the Ten of Cups reversed, you pretty much just think, I don't want to be heading off towards this because it just doesn't seem like it's going to be all that promising. But sometimes when you realize that, take it or leave it, as much as I don't like that phrase in any way, sometimes it's good just to kind of accept something because you realize that there's no other options or anything available at the time. So then you pretty much just think, you know what, we're just going to, take this and just see how far we can get with it and stuff like that. Because, it's like maybe this offering could definitely, will reach out towards that Six of Wands moment, right? So you're not getting what you want, but yet you get Judgment. Okay, so this is an interesting turnaround, and this is kind of like changing your perspective on the whole situation. is, it's like judgment is all about sense of clarity, a grand announcement of whatever it may be. So, but it's not what you want, but you realize that's going to be benefiting you in the end. And that's usually a very, very important, like angle to, to observe and to do introspection with. Because the thing is, when you realize that something is going to be benefiting you, even though it's not something that you want, let's say that, you're a high school or college graduate, and a lot of your friends are pretty much running off towards, their parents' careers and stuff like that because, their parents are going to be bequeathing their company onto their fledglings and stuff like that. But yet, well, you don't get that kind of luxury. Sad, but true in some ways. The thing is, maybe you do have to kind of climb the ranks a bit. Maybe you have to kind of go through the steps, the proper steps to be heading off towards whatever that Six of Wands is all about, even though that's the last thing you feel like having to be dealing with. Why should my friends suddenly get all the special treatment? What is wrong? Why can't I actually be on the same wavelength as them? So, and that's why, a lot of things are just so unfair in this world because of those incidences. But yet I see you manifesting something, wanting to create something, because you get the Prince of Knives. So I see you actually manifesting something. It could be, finding motivation and inspiration, but it could also be, that you being the magician, and even though it's a Gemini Virgo card in other ways. I see a lot of motivation because you're creating something, and maybe that's what you're going to be creating yourself. Maybe you're going to be, creating your own company that you could, or in other ways. But I do see something in the making for you, and I'm just beyond impressed at the fact that you could pretty much just think, you know what? Yes, it's not what I want, but that's why, if you don't want, a particular gift, even though you realize it's going to be benefiting you, then you pretty much have to take control of how you are going to get whatever you want in the end. And that's pretty much up to anybody, is that you pretty much just think, okay, it's not what I want, but that's why, I have the motivation and want to start manifesting what I do want. For the Hermit, you get 10 of Swords, a painful ending. So you are doing some introspection, but yet, you could potentially be faced with some kind of painful ending of some kind. And maybe that's kind of what's putting you in a restless position. Now, I can't say for sure what is considered, the painful ending in other ways. But it could be that, once upon a time, you had this beautiful story wish fulfillment of whatever it may be. And so maybe you have to kind of let go of that and that could also be a painful moment because it's like even, with any kind of like ideas that you have, any kind of daydreams, any kind of thoughts or feelings, if you suddenly have to go into a rebirthing transition mode and you have to let go of, what you pretty much, held so close to you and stuff like that, but you realize that it's just not going to, benefit you or give you any kind of means in any way, then you do have to let it go. Sad but true. And maybe this is where you're kind of processing, having to go in within, and because maybe, this whole, means of wanting to manifest something is kind of, what's mostly guiding you towards this more sacrificial moment of having to let go of something in the future. Because with the Hanged Man reversed, you feel restless, you feel uneasy about this big change taking place. Then you get the Eight of Grails. So I see you walking away from that painful ending, because water is an element of healing, recovery, support, because humans need water to be able to survive in this world. So I feel like that the Eight of Grails is mostly saying, what, even though we are faced with this painful ending, we're going to have to, walk away from something. We can't just, stand here and just keep mourning. I mean, you can do whatever it takes, take all the time you need, but I feel like that the Eight of Grails is mostly, there to say, okay, we're going to now have to take off, even though the last thing you feel like dealing with when you're in the form of having to recover or heal from any kind of painful incident is to have to start walking again. I know that feeling all too well. I know I pretty much struggled when I had to get out of my coffin after all that time when I just pretty much just thought this is the last thing I feel like having to be dealing with. Because for the Six of Wands, happy ending for you, you get the Queen of Swords. So this is like this big celebratory occasion that's waiting for you. Maybe, this is definitely some kind of like sacrifice where you have to let go of something so you can welcome this beautiful celebratory occasion. And here you are actually manifesting and creating the strategic plan on, keeping up with this new beautiful ending or the starts. Because, even though we're pretty much heading off towards Sagittarius season, what comes after Sagittarius? you. And that's what I'm mostly, just seeing, is that this is also kind of like an Aquarius sort of card, also one of your neighboring, but this is mostly, actually having the motivation again to want to start manifesting, creating something, to be planning something of whatever it may be. So I feel like that, this is kind of like one of those graphs, like, 1 minute you're on top of the world, then next time you feel like you're just on the bottom, just struggling with painful endings and stuff like that. But here you're actually slowly, heading back up. Because speaking of your special vampire card, you get the world. So the world is pretty much waiting for you. So you'll be on top of your game or on top of the world in no time. And so that's kind of the thing, is it's kind of like with any kind of process, healing, recovery, healing, or any kind of experience, is that it kind of just goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and then it start moving up, upward towards, the world and stuff like that. Because, the thing is the fact that you're just not giving up. The fact is that, yes, you may have struggled, especially with the, disappointment and all kinds of, like, and maybe lack of faith and self-doubt within yourself, but pretty soon, you're going to be on top of your wonderful game of whatever it may be. Because Oracle wants to continue with burnt by the sun, ambition, extension, and reach. So maybe that's what you were already doing with the, Three of Pentacles in the past, is maybe reaching out to other people to say, hey, I'm kind of struggling and here and stuff like that. What can I do? And how can I improve my disappointment and stuff like that? So maybe there are other people out there, and maybe you do have to just network with other humans and extend to them, reach out to them and keep up with the ambition. Because the thing is, as humans, they like positivity. Even if you could be struggling, even if you've just suffered, some form of disappointment, when people say, hi, how are you doing? A lot of people say, fine, thanks, hope you're doing well. And so that's kind of, mostly giving people hope. If you say, oh my goodness, I'm just having one of the worst days or weeks ever, a lot of people, they're just thinking, I don't really care or want to hear about that, because, it's like, it's pretty much, I'm also trying to keep up with positivity myself. So if you can also mostly, we'll keep up with the ambition, sorry, I didn't mean ambition in any way, then eventually, you will be, seen as a top tier, out of this world type of person. So, anyway, I'm going to finish off with 3 yes or no answers. Please feel free to pause this video and think about the questions you want answered. For number 1, you get a yes with the 9 of Swords reversed. A yes, a definite yes with the Wheel of Fortune for number 2. And the third yes with the High Priestess for number 3. Fabulous. You get 3 yeses in this week's general reading. My beautiful Capricorns, Capricorn placements, I want to thank you all so much for joining me in this very beautiful, relaxed, quiet evening. Hope all is well with you guys. You see how I just said, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. I love you guys incredibly. In a few days, I'm going back to love readings, but please feel free to stay tuned for the Macabre Tarot and see what I can do to help you guys overcome your fears and stuff like that. I love you guys incredibly. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. I hope everything is indeed going well for you guys, because it looks like that. It looks a bit like of a struggle and stuff like that, but I think everything is just going to turn out to be one big, fabulous, happy ending for you all out in this world. But anyway, as per usual, I just want to, as per usual, just take excellent good care of yourselves, and I love you guys, and always feel free to join and subscribe if you ever feel like it. But other than that, love you guys.